Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. We're here for fan chat. It is the first 10 games are down, so we're up for discussion. Lots of things. We're going to look at thoughts about Matt Sadler and against Graham Alexander, who of course was in there. The formation, a few other bits as well. We're going to talk about Draper and loan players. And where we'll finish. So we've got all of that, but we've got some of the crew here with us. We've got a couple that are late, but on time we have Phil. Hi, Phil.
Hi, mate.
And we've got Lee. So both of you were there yesterday for the Bradford game. Matt Sadler, is he a tactical genius and went forward at the back, or was he stuck and he had to play forward at the back? What do you think, Phil?
Who knows? He got it right yesterday. Either way, when the team was announced, I wasn't sure whether he was going 3-5-2 again or 4-4-1-1, which is effectively what he played. But I thought it worked yesterday, and I think that formation suits the players we've got much better. I think that if you look at our last 4 games, the best we played, I think Bradford was our best all-round performance of the season. And I think if you look at the second half at Salford, I thought that was also an impressive performance. And both of those performances were with the team that we had yesterday, with the 4 at the back, 4 across the midfield, and Tierney playing just behind Draper. I think with the availability that we've got at the moment, that works. It certainly worked yesterday. And I think that performance yesterday was everything that the Wimbledon performance wasn't. We looked organised. We looked solid. The players looked comfortable in the roles that they were playing. They didn't look like a bunch of strangers, which they did in the Wimbledon game. So I'd stick with that for now. Certainly.
Yeah. So hi, Daz. You all right, mate? Yeah, okay. We'll come to you in a second, but we're going to go to Lee. So Matt Sadler, a couple of games in, people were saying we should have had Graham Alexander. And 10 games in, the MK Dons are calling for his head already, saying it's terrible football. So it's one of those, isn't it? It's very easy to make a snap decision when people need time. I think Graham Alexander needs time, and equally, Matt Sadler needs time. But as I'll ask the same question to yourself. Do you think Matt Sadler's learnt and he's realised that having 4 at the back works better, or is it just he's sort of stuck and he's had to play it?
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you, Simon. I think with Hussey leaving sort of after the transfer window closing, and then we've had the injuries as well to Priestley, I think, and Dave. I think it's sort of a necessity. He's had to do the 4 at the back goals, and obviously Tyler Allen was suspended. So really, you couldn't really get the 3 centre backs in with then having the 2 wing backs, because it would be sort of then in compromising on Mckenzie not being in midfield, and he wants Mckenzie to be in midfield. So I think in a way, the injuries and Hussey going back might have done Sadler a favour, and he's had to do the 4 at the back. And then obviously, like Phil just said, sort of the way they played yesterday and the way they played the second half of Salford, you can see they look a lot more comfortable. I think Gordon looked more comfortable yesterday. Joe Riley, I thought, had probably his best game in a Walsall shirt, for 90 minutes overall. And then even Daniels with Williams alongside him, he just looked more comfortable because he sort of knew what his role was. Sort of Williams was picking up Cook most of the time, and then Daniels was sort of picking up anybody else or picking up the ball, and he just looked more comfortable. I think sometimes when you've got the 3 at the back, it can be a bit like, well, I'll pick him up, and then it's like the others are a bit in no man's land sometimes in between who they're picking up, so then it gets a little bit disjointed. But I think hopefully Sadler's looked at it and gone, that's my best sort of defensive formation, because I think then in front of into midfield and up front, he's got so many different options. I think with the 3-5-2, it's more rigid how he's got to play that midfield, where you saw yesterday and you saw against Salford, there's a bit more fluidity. He's sort of at times yesterday he went like a 4-2-3-1, and then he went like a 4-5-1 with Hutchinson and Opie sitting back in. But they also, when they got the chance, they got up and they were helping Draper out, and then Deeney was dropping back in. So I think it's a lot more fluid that way. And then also
that's a great identity to have as well. I think that's a great identity to have. Just going to come to Daz. So first of all, were you in the patient camp before this game, or was you losing patience with Sadler?
My glass has been half full. I've said it a few times. Still is. I don't get the impatience around Sadler. He needs time. I chuckled at the impatience with Alexander that I read yesterday. I guess he's in the same boat. Building a football club squad, building something that can achieve something is not a case of just adding water. It takes time. It takes multiple transfer windows, and I've said it for a long time. We need stability, not another change.
Yeah, I think Sadler could have gone 3 at the back at Bradford. He could have gone Mckenzie, Daniels, Williams, and gone the same again. So I think he hasn't sort of been very stubborn, which is what we're worried about with the old Matt Taylor situation. So I think he has made a definite decision that now I'll play 4 at the back. And as we say, Riley didn't want to play right wing back because it doesn't suit him because he's not particularly pacey. But whenever he's come on, Joe Riley, he's looked quite accomplished at full back. And it's very rare people go past him. And as Lee's already mentioned, that's probably his best game for Walsall at Bradford.
Yeah, I would agree with Lee on that. I thought he had a very solid game yesterday. Probably was his best game for Walsall. What I thought was quite ironic in a way yesterday was that the fullbacks got forward almost as much, if not more, yesterday than they did when we were playing 3-5-2.
I was just Phil. I was just about to say that. I know I wasn't there, but I've seen sort of extended highlights and that sort of stuff. Tell me, did Liam Gordon get past more players and go forward more than when he's playing wing back?
In the first half yesterday, yes, he did. Certainly.
Because I put a little short out because I like the one where Daniels has done a bit of a run, switches it outside to Liam Gordon, and he just flicks the ball over the guy's leg, and he's away, and then he gets taken out. But I mean, that's what we want more from him. He's got great ability, hasn't he?
But I think the reason that happened yesterday I've got to say, you can only play what's in front of you. I thought that's the worst Bradford side I've seen since we've come down over the last 5 years. Every time I've sort of seen Bradford at Bradford or they've been at our place, out of the 2 teams, I've always thought they look better than us. It's the first time in the 5 years since we've been relegated where yesterday I thought we definitely are better than them. I mean, and again, it's only 10 games into the season, but at the moment, I would rather have our squad and our team than the Bradford team and squad. I just think our team, let alone the young, and we've got a bit of inexperience in the side, they just look more together and they look more happy at the moment. And I think a lot of the time, that sort of team spirit and that team bond can get you a lot further down the road than having like the best players or what you think are the best players. Because at the end of the day, you need everybody to be going in the same direction, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's what Sadler's building. Sadler's building that togetherness. And what you say about Bradford, slightly unfair, I think, because Bradford have been very inconsistent. At times, they've been awesome, Bradford, listening to their fans, and it's inconsistency that's messed them up. And maybe with having 5 in the middle, we've just stopped them playing.
Yeah, I think that was part of that yesterday. You could see they were trying, and they were trying the sort of the long balls, but obviously Williams was. I don't think he might have missed like 1 or 2 headers, but sort of against Cook, he sort of won easily 90-95% of them. And some of the headers he was getting cleared, and Daniels, it was like going straight past their midfield, and it was getting us sort of turning them back around. So it was helping us yesterday. The way they sort of played the long balls.
To have a centre half who can give a proper head on a ball, like we had Tom Leake recently, or the last couple of years, and he got no distance when he heads the ball. And then we remember Dan Scarr, and like when he heads the ball, it stays headed, as it were. And Williams is another one of those. He's got that aerial ability, and he's very inexperienced, but he has been playing against big, cumbersome strikers in non-league. And
what?
Andy Cook is a very good example of one of them. He's obviously a very good finisher as well, but he knew how to deal with that kind of player, perhaps.
What I like about Williams is he doesn't actually look like an inexperienced player. He doesn't look like a 19-year-old kid that's just come out of non-league football. I was watching him very closely yesterday. I thought he was excellent yesterday, by the way. I thought he was close to man of the match. I'd have said it was between him and Draper yesterday. He's talking all the time to the players that are around him. Positionally, he's very good. And he looks comfortable on the ball. And as you say, that he had a couple of shaky moments early on, but as he grew into the game, he was getting above Andy Cook, winning headers. He was nipping in front of him, stopping balls, getting to him. I thought he had a really impressive game yesterday.
His interview that he did with the media team, fair play to the media team. They sort of handled the interview very well with him. He's got all the smiles. Reminds me of sort of Jack Grealish, where he just enjoys. It's like every day is a joy sort of thing. He was really happy. Happy with what he'd done, happy with the team, and just overjoyed to be playing football, which is great to see, isn't it, Daz?
Yeah, absolutely. Archurch has proved to be a rich team for us over the years, and I agree. I wasn't there yesterday. I only watched it on TV. I couldn't make yesterday, but I watched the game, and he was outstanding, absolutely outstanding, and I think he recognises it's his opportunity, kind of a life opportunity to get a chance to play professional football, and I think he looks determined to take it. He looks a good player to me.
Yeah, it's good age, obviously, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's good age.
Just on that as well. Sorry, Simon. Just on that yesterday as well. I think if you have a look at the stats, I think Bradford only had 2 shots on target, and obviously one of them was the penalty, which wasn't a penalty, but.
Now the guy came in from the left, didn't he? And that was a nice, comfortable save for Evans. Get his figures up.
So yeah, that's what I mean. Sort of playing with that defence yesterday with 4 at the back, you would think, oh, perhaps we're going to be under a bit more pressure. But like I just said, at the end of the day, I think Bradford only had sort of 2 clear-cut chances, and obviously one of them being the penalty. So to limit them to 1 clear chance in the 90 minutes with a back 4 at Bradford just shows you how good that performance was yesterday. I don't think there'll be many teams.
It's doing it. It's properly doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think just coming back to the formation again, obviously with the Priest being injured and with Allen being suspended, there is a possibility he might go back to 3 at the back. But I mean, from what I've seen, the second half when he went 4 at the back against Salford, and obviously yesterday, the whole team works so much better with that fluid midfield. So would that be crazy for him to go to 3 at the back again?
Me personally, yes, at the moment, because I don't think we've got an out-and-out right wing back. I think Joe Riley is better at right back. I think obviously we've got young Fawkes, who I think's at the moment is better at right back, and then obviously that then frees up Tommy Knowles to play more advanced, and you don't really need him to be anywhere near that right back position because Riley and Fawkes between them should be able to cover it. I suppose again, it might depend on the situation, the game, who we play in. That sometimes he might want to go with that extra defender and have the 3 at the back and then have the 5 in midfield. I suppose it just depends on who we're playing, but I think he's probably showed in that game yesterday, and obviously the second half at Salford, the 4 at the back suits the players we've got at the moment. Whether
I think they're more confident in that formation, weren't they? They're more confident in that formation.
They just, to me, that obviously we only get to see him during the games. Obviously, Sadler and the other coach, you can see him day in, day out during training and everything. But I think they just look more comfortable when there's 4 at the back. And then, like we already said, that midfield can interchange. You've got like the 3 of them. Teeny, like yesterday, you got Teeny and Stirk and Mckenzie, and then you got Hutchinson and OT, who are more wider and more advanced. But they can interchange. You can have Teeny going up to help Draper out, and then like I said, Hutchinson and OT can sit in a bit more, or vice versa. If Teeny sits in with Stirk and Mckenzie, then Hutchinson and can get more forward. I think there's a lot of options in that midfield and the way that they put forward and drop back.
Question from Ian Allen. What's your opinions of Hutchinson? Because he doesn't really rate him. I'm going to go to Phil first on this. Hutch is a very frustrating player, isn't he? But if you're playing 4-5-1, you are more playing wingers, and Hutch is not so much of a winger. What's your general thoughts on the Hutch?
My general thoughts on him are I quite like him, but I agree he is frustrating and he is inconsistent. When we play the formation that we played yesterday, he was sort of on the left, wasn't he, coming in off the wide position. And I suppose you could argue with a player like him, maybe you'd want them more central, getting on the ball a little bit more. But I said last time when we spoke that if he was more consistent and if he was more, if he produced his best more often, then he would probably be playing at a higher level. I think he's got quality. We've seen it in flashes already this season with some of the goals he scored and some of the assists that he's made. But I think saying I don't rate him, I wouldn't go that far, but I can understand why people get frustrated with him, and he does seem a little bit Marmite. I am starting to hear more and more grumbles in the crowd about him when he gives the ball away, and when he does as some of his sloppier moments. You are hearing sort of more and more grumbles in the crowd. But I like him. I play him because I think he can on his best day can win you a game.
I'm going to ask a very provocative question now to Daz. You probably recognise this question from previous. Can you see us getting promoted with Hutchinson in the team?
Yes, I can. I think Hutchinson, when he's involved in games, as he was yesterday, I think that we are more effective. I get the Marmite. I get where Ian's coming from. But when we get Hutchinson involved in games, we're a lot more fluid. There's a lot more opportunity for us, and he wouldn't be the first name on my team sheet, but he wouldn't be the last either.
No, okay, that's fair enough. I think, from my point of view, I think what Phil says is quite right. I think playing him more centrally, so he can distribute to both swings. I want to see Outy playing left side, because that's his natural position. Outy's been brilliant. He was good again yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, I thought Outy had a good game yesterday. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go for it, Phil. Go for it, Lee.
I thought Outy was good again yesterday, and sorry. I thought Outy was good yesterday, and predominantly he was down the right, but there were times he did go over to the left, and then Hutchinson. I think there'll be games going forward if he sort of sticks that. If he sticks that formation, you might have the odd game where if Hutchinson goes into the middle and like Teeny drops down to the bench, you could have OT on the left, and then you could have Knowles on the right. I think there's options there for him to do. But just a quick one on Hutch yesterday. What I did like was there was times where he came back and he helped Gordon down the left hand side. Sort of he was doubling up with. And that helped Gordon as well to get forward, because obviously even Hutch could play a couple of 1-2s, and Hutch could play the ball down the line, Gordon to run on. And a similar sort of thing happened on the right-hand side with Riley, and where sort of Riley picked the ball up and Outy could run down the right channel, and then Riley had the chance to either play him in or look for Draper. So I think there's a bit of work there that over the next couple of weeks, months, you'll see that could develop. And like I've already said, you could have in the next few games, you could have obviously Hutchinson moving back more central, and then having Knowles and Oti as your two wide players. So, like I said, I think there's a lot of options there for Sadler going forward. So it just depends on how he wants to develop that, I suppose.
Yeah, I think keeping that solid back four, and then I'd say you can be so fluid with all the front players, can't you? Percy has got a player he wants us to talk about. Stirk has transformed us. He's everything Kinsella should have been. I'm going to go to Darren for this, because I saw Darren posted a tweet earlier. So I know that's close to your heart, so we'll go with you.
I saw Percy coming out of Swindon, and we had a similar conversation. I think Stirk is. I actually messaged somebody yesterday. I think Stirk's the best midfielder we've signed in 5 years. And to be fair, that's not exactly damning him with praise, because we haven't collected many particularly good midfielders. But Stirk, I think there's a real player there. He's probably the best signing we made in the summer. And he's right, really. Percy.
Still very inexperienced. Only got just over 50 games.
50 games is where you start. For me, is where you start measuring them. I think he played like 14 or 15 in the National League, so he's around about 35 league games and a dozen substitute appearances. The awareness that the clip that I commented on, the awareness when he knew the player was coming and he slid it between his legs with his first touch was fabulous. And his first thought is always, what can I do forwards? Not what can I do sideways? How do I retain possession? Stirk's first thought is always, where's the opportunity to do damage? It doesn't always work. There's a lot of growing for him to do. But I really, really like Stirk.
Yeah. And Phil, what do you say on Stirk? Do you agree with all that?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything that Daz has just said about him. I think he's been excellent this season, arguably our player of the season so far with his consistency. And picking up on Daz's last point, I like the fact that, he looks to play forward when he gets the ball. And I'd rather see a midfield player lose the ball occasionally by trying to play forward and trying to play people in and trying to play advanced passes than just turn around and play a simple ball back to the fullback or the centre half every time. I think he's been very good this season, and he's the sort of the anchor in that midfield. And I thought again yesterday he just keeps he holds the midfield together really well. He positionally is very good, and he's intelligent with the ball, and he really helps to make us tick.
Playing devil's advocate a little bit. How did it go so wrong in midfield against Wimbledon? Because we're all at sea.
Can I start on that one? Because I thought one of the biggest problems against Wimbledon was there was too much chopping and changing. I know obviously that he had his hand forced a little bit by the sending off, and that he had to rethink what he did from that point on. But the setup of the team from the start, I didn't think was right. I thought the first 30-35 minutes against Wimbledon, we were dreadful, really poor. No sort of cohesion or fluidity in the team at all. But I actually worked out at the end of the game, there was 3 different players in the Wimbledon game that played in 3 different positions in the same match. There was far too much changing of personnel, going player one position to another position, then another player coming on in one position, and then another player switching to another position, and the whole thing just looked a mess. And that's where probably Sadler's inexperience showed in that particular game. But like I said earlier on, yesterday was everything that the Wimbledon performance wasn't. It was just much more organised, more solid. We didn't change formation. When we were winning, we didn't start sitting back or bringing extra defenders on. We just kept playing the way that was working from the start. And I just, hope that, these are the lessons that Sadler's learning as he goes forward.
Yeah. Lee, thoughts?
Just on Ryan Stirk, I like him. I think, like Daz and Phil already said, I think he's probably the best signing we've made, not only this season, but for the last few seasons. I think potentially he's like going to be the next sort of Joe Edwards. I can see him being that sort of player. Yeah, I think he's got it all, and he just plays with his heart on his sleeve. You can see sort of when he does lose the ball, he's frustrated with himself, but then he works hard to get back and wins it. And like Daz has already said, he's always looking up, or he already knows. I think that's the difference with him, like coming through at Birmingham. I think his sort of brain is already, he's got a picture of the pitch, and he knows who's ahead of him. So as soon as he's got that ball, he's got half a yard space. He's already got like 2 or 3 options. He's thinking about playing forward. Where in the past we've had players who have had the ball, and then by the time they made a decision, they've been robbed of the ball or they've been tackled, haven't they? I think with Stirk, he's sort of intelligent player, and he's already, as soon as he's got the ball, he sort of knows what he's going to be doing with it, or he's got options. And I think that's always the main thing, having them options. He's not just one dimension, he's got options, and I think that helps with playing with Mckenzie, and like yesterday with Tini, and even Joe Riley. I think there was like little triangles, and there's quite a lot of one-touch football going on, and they sort of, you could see they were enjoying themselves. So yeah.
Do you think that midfield three of Mckenzie, Stirk, and Tierney, do you think that solidity there is the reason why Liam Gordon felt more comfortable to go forward?
Yeah, I think so as well. And like I've already said, I think with Hutchinson being on the left-hand side, I'm not saying like Liam Gordon could bomb all the way down the left-hand side and Hutchinson was dropping into the left-back position, because he wasn't. But I think he just feels he can get forward a little bit better, because there's a bit more protection, which sounds a little bit strange, because you would think the 3-5-2, you would expect your wing-backs to be more like wingers, wouldn't you? And be going forward more. But yesterday, I think he just... like we've already said, I think it's just the fluidity, and everybody seemed more comfortable and they seemed happy on the ball. I suppose it's good as well with the reaction they had yesterday, because obviously, like Phil's already just said, the Wimbledon game wasn't good at all, and that could have like had a bit of a hangover for the next week or two. But they've sort of shook that off and gave that performance at Bradford, which was totally different to the Wimbledon game, which just shows sort of a good, strong mentality in the team as well. They haven't like gone licking the wounds too much and feeling sorry for themselves. They've gone out next game and corrected it straight away, which is good to see.
I think I'm just thinking, what you were saying there, Gordon, I think being in the left back position, he's got a chance of receiving the ball earlier. So he can get it to his feet and move with it. Where at wing back, he was getting it and he was already in traffic. So I think that might be having an effect. We've got Darren. Darren's going to be joining us in a second. We've got to call him Darren because we've got a Daz already and we can't change his name. Just before I bring Darren in, there's just a couple of things I just want to mention. I am launching a website. But I'm having a few problems with it. So if there's anybody watching that's good with websites and would like to sort of help and support with that, that would be much appreciated. So give me a message on the channel, or email me walsallfantv10@gmail.com. And we've also got super thanks is now enabled. So if you'd like to help support the channel, that would be good. And we've also launched memberships, and we're going to have a Discord group. Some extra benefits as well for that. So if that's something that you want to jump on board with, that would be good. But enough of that. We're going to introduce this guy. He's late. It's not very good, is it? First time you're on, you're late. Oh, that's a bit...
Sorry.
But let me introduce Darren. Darren lectures in psychology and neuroscience. So he's going to have some mental stuff to discuss now. Welcome, first of all, to Darren.
Thanks.
We talked earlier, like at the start when everybody else joined. Matt Sadler. And Graham Alexander. Obviously, Graham Alexander's not hit things off too well with MK Dons. and Matt Sadler sticking to his guns.
I was just glad that he's well, I think he was forced into learning on Saturday, and I hope that we stick to this four at the back going forward, because I've been moaning for all pre-season, as anyone who knows me will attest to. But I'm to be honest, I'm just sick of the back three. I think it only works if you have exceptional wing backs. We don't have exceptional wing backs, in my opinion. I think that it just fits the squad to play four at the back more, to be honest with you. I think we look a lot more solid and fluid. To me, Alexander is not... For me, it was David Artell last May when we were kind of discussing who we might get in. I know he was interviewed, but we're here now, so we just have to hope that he's learned and we kind of shift to four. I still think he's going to want to go back to the three at some stage, because I honestly do, because I think he loves Mckenzie in midfield. He's not a number... Sorry, I'm just stream of consciousness. He's never a number 8, in my opinion. He's playing the shield in a...
Oh, Mckenzie, many people I talk to think that Mckenzie is never going to make a midfielder. I think
he can play as a screen, but I think
that's changing a little bit. Just going to go to Phil. Mckenzie, is he there for good midfield? What do you think?
It looks that way. Certainly, Matt Sadler seems to see him as a midfielder rather than a centre half. I agree with what Darren just said about playing if he's just playing as a screen in front of the back four. I think that job's a bit more simple for him. He can do that because he puts himself about well. He's quite physical, wins his headers, wins his tackles. He's never going to be the greatest footballer in midfield. We know that, but I think he can do a job in that particular position.
Yeah, Lee.
Yes and no. Again, I think he's probably at the moment. He probably would be more happier at centre back, because again, he's only really sort of the last 3 games of last season and the pre-season and these 10 games that he's sort of been in that role. So you're looking at 15, 16 games he's played in that position. But again, yesterday he got another assist. So he's already what has he got? What he got now? He's got like 5 goals and 6 or 7 assists.
Well, this season, I think is it 3 goals? He was involved in 6 of our first 11 goals this season.
That was it, yeah. And sorry, Darren.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, some of those he played, like for example at Blackburn, he was in a back 3 where he scored a header off a corner. I think Saturday was just a layoff, wasn't it? I know Gordon did the hard work, but at least he was there to do. I mean, I'll be controversial. I'll say I think he's done a lot more than Kinsella did in the last 5 years. But
I don't think anybody's going to contend that. I don't think anybody's going to contend that.
I was just going to say that I think Mckenzie already in these first 10 games has got more goals and more assists than Comley, Labadie, Kinsella combined. So if you look at him playing in midfield, is he better than them 3? Yes, he is.
Go on, Daz. Do you think Mackenzie's there to stay?
It doesn't matter what we think, because Sadler's got him there to stay. So let's get that one out first. But I'm in a different position to all of you. I think he gives us stuff we haven't got. Yesterday, he balanced when we played 2 in midfield. I think he balanced with Stirk really well. If you look at the heat maps, they're almost symmetrical in the way that they show from yesterday. If you look at the last 15 minutes yesterday when we were trying to close the game out, the energy, the mobility, it always seems he's like a ball magnet. He always seems to be around the ball. He's I think he's very early in a midfield career. And it's rare that me and Darren disagree, but we're on different sides of this one.
Do you mind replying? I I don't mind him in the 2. I honestly don't mind him. I think when he's had to play that 8 role with like up there with Hutchinson almost, I think that's where the problems are. But when he's in that like sort of withdrawn role as a screen, I've got no problem.
Yeah, I think going on from just backing that up, I think the evidence was there for that in the Salford game. Anyone who was at the Salford game, the first half against Salford, we played 3-5-2, and he was in that role, and he was awful in the first half. He didn't do anything. Then when we changed shape in the second half, and he played in the slightly different midfield position, he was like a different player. So that in that 4-4-1-1 formation, playing alongside Stirk, yeah, I can more than live with him in midfield in that role.
Mm-hmm.
I think, if we refer to the Salford game, of course, he does cover so much of the pitch. And I think without him, we're sort of back into a position where we've got no physical presence and no height in our midfield, and he gives us that. And of course, at Salford, it was his cross for Draper's goal, and then he was in the right position to finish it off to get the winner. So I think he's here to stay. I think it was Richard O'Kelly that suggested putting him there to start with, and it's still a learning journey for him. But he's on the way, isn't he? He's on the way. I think he's there to stay. Comment here from Super Saddler's Seb. Good to have him with us. Best performance of the season so far. 4 at the back is the way forward. I think we all agree that, whether Sadler does it or not. We had more balance both attacking and defensively. Tierney as a player, hopefully we can get to look to get him permanently. We certainly hope so. Just had a donation, super thanks from Richard Lloyd, so thank you for that. 4-3-3 single or double pivot, 4-2-3-1 are the formations I think Sadler needs to go with from now on. Is Fallen Maniac. That's a name and a half, that is. It's we've got so much better things to discuss after that performance yesterday, haven't we? Because before that, we were a bit worried, weren't we? Lee, was you worried after 2 defeats on the bounce?
I was, with the way we were setting up against teams, because I thought the way with the 3-5-2, it's hard for Sadler because we've already said we haven't got a proper right wing back, because I think in the summer he probably tried to get a proper or a more conventional right wing back, and it didn't happen. So he's had to go with Oiley, Joe Fawkes and Tommy Knowles, and between them, they've tried, but it worked, does it? Either Tommy Knowles is not defensively good enough. You've got Joe Fawkes, who's early in his career and he's young and he's trying, and
he's a right back.
I think it was for him to be a right wing, to be a right back. And then you saw yesterday with Joe Riley, just being a right back, he looked better. And then the same with Gordon to a lesser extent. He can play left wing back, but I think we've already shown that just being a left back, he's more capable, he's more able. So in that regard, the fall is a lot better, because I think when we come up against teams, they know a right wing back, that's the area they're going to attack. And it showed, didn't it, in where we played like Wrexham, even the games we've won. Teams were trying they're our right, and a lot of success out of that. And then it was putting more pressure on Harry Williams when he was playing there. And then obviously when Priestley came 3-5-2, because he could cover sort of the right wing back a little bit more. But with we just looked at.
Yeah.
You'll go.
We're getting you dropping out a bit, Lee. I don't know what's causing that. So we're moving. A question I had come on here. Simon, who's your favourite player? Brings me onto the subject of loan players. Freddie Draper is doing very well for us at the moment. But we know we shouldn't fall in love with loan players. Lee's obviously very keen on Ross Tierney, and Draper is getting lots of the plaudits. It is possible that Draper is going to get called back by Lincoln in January.
Mhm.
So that is a big risk. So first of all, favourite player so far this season, Phil?
Stirk probably for me. But I do really like Freddie Draper. When we're on that subject, I thought he was excellent yesterday. It's a tough gig playing up front on your own or without another striker. And we could see again, like with sort of 10, 15 minutes to go, he'd absolutely run himself into the ground and he needed to be taken off. And I think we need to be careful how we manage his game time when he's playing in that role, because it's a real tough role to play game in, game out. But I think he's a really top striker, and I think he is the best striker at the club now. I think he's proved that as the season's gone on. I know there's been some controversy about DJ not playing, but I think with the formation that we've played yesterday, Freddie Draper starts up front for me. I think he's got a lot about him. But as you've already alluded to, Simon, we all know all too well what happened last January with Danny Johnson, and we could be heading to a similar situation. All I would say is that I hope we learn the lessons from last year, and if we don't manage to keep hold of Freddie Draper, we do everything that we can to get a similar kind of player of a similar level and a similar quality.
Yeah. I'll just jump in with mine before I go to Daz. For me, it's quite a strange one, really. But I think at the moment, Oti is a player that I'm really liking and I want to see more of. I think every time he's come on, he's looked really exciting. And we all love wingers. Obviously, I think he's got more end product than Tommy Knowles, and I want to see more of him. But it's all looking good. Daz, on to you. Favourite player at the minute?
I'm going to slightly different. I love Daniels. I think Daniels is everything you want in a Walsall captain. He gets the club. He leads the club properly. He looks like a proper captain. Defensively, there's the odd Ricky, but Daniels is a captain. I think probably the most Walsall captain since Adam Chambers.
Yeah,
I completely agree on Ote. I think pound for pound, minute for minute, Ote's contribution has been as good as anybody's.
Yeah, I think he's got to be starting ahead of Knowles, really. I think at the minute, which he was on Saturday. Go to Lee for that one. Same question.
Yeah. I'm going to pick two. One sort of who's at Walsall permanently. I'm going to go with Liam Gordon. I think the way he's came back from his injury and his season, I think that just showed great character, because obviously we all know about his foot injury and he could have ended his career. And obviously that injury, I suppose, from a mental side, he could have been on the back. Well, I'm sure it still is at the back of his mind in some stages, but he just plays with his heart on his sleeve and he just tries to give everything every game. And you can see sort of when we win, he's happy. Like yesterday when he came over to the and he was having photos and everything else. And then even when we lose, he's sort of still one of the players that comes over and sort of applauds the fans, especially if we've been away. And I think he just shows great character. I think he just enjoys playing football, because like I said, with that injury, he could have quite easily ended his career there and then. So I think he's very grateful. And then on the loan side, I know Freddie Draper's great, but I just love Ross. I just love Tina. I just love the way he is. I think he's a right little git in a nice way. I think he's a sort of player you really up against, would it? Because you look at him and you think there's not a great deal to him. But like yesterday, we've already mentioned, when he got that little bit of an injury towards the end, other players could have just stayed on the floor and milked it. He got back up, and that's what he did yesterday. He got back up and he still put his challenges in and he still played the ball. And then at the end, he's celebrating and he's having a bit of a dance and everything. And again, I would just love to be with him in a team. He's sort of person I could see. He would just, if you're not doing your job, I think he would tell you straight away. And also, when you're winning, he's just great. I just love him at the moment.
Yeah, I think before I've got a different kind of question for Darren in a second. with Liam Gordon, I think it's clear that he's one of those players who could really be making a step up. One of those players who could be leaving us for a higher division and that sort of thing. So we'll see whether that appears. I was just going to go to Darren, and he's just gone off.
No, I am here.
Are you still there?
I am here. Yeah. I am here. Sorry.
Just before I go to the question, the challenging question for you, just like to thank Sean Southall for a donation as well. So thank you very much for that. The question is the real Mr. Man United says Daz Rhodes is a fraud. He wanted Sadler out. So,
I know exactly who that is. He's an actual Man United fan who's joined.
So the question is, you did want Sadler out. Do you still think Sadler's the wrong man?
I've never wanted Sadler out. No,
you've never wanted Sadler out.
No, it wasn't my first choice.
I don't think it was anybody's first choice.
I think everyone would agree with that, right? He's definitely wasn't my first choice. I thought it was a very strange process that we went through to take 5 weeks to employ someone who was already at the club. I think those letters that Boycott put out were to justify the appointment personally, and they knew exactly what was going to happen. But anyway, that's conjecture. For me this year, and I feel that they need to convince me rather than the other way around. When we appointed Matt Taylor, Darryl Clark, Mike Flynn, etc., each summer I've been like, "Oh, right, here we go. We're gonna do something this season," and it's just been complete disappointment. So for me, my position is more that they need to convince me this time round, because I actually think Tuesday is a massive game, because we've seen this so many times over the last 5 years where we've had a good victory away from home somewhere difficult, and we've been like, right, now's the time we're going to actually kick on in this division and string a few wins together, and it just doesn't happen, does it? We'll win one, we'll lose a couple, and I think if we can just get that momentum, it'll give people who've been critical of the appointment, like me, a bit more sort of confidence.
I think we need to remember that this is a very young team. And we all know with young players, consistency is the challenge. So I think we have to remember that, and perhaps maybe not immediately blame Sadler when we have a poor performance, because young players are sort of up and down a little bit. Obviously, it's part of his challenge to sort of keep that to a minimum and change the players. But yeah, we need to remember that Sadler as well is learning. The thing with Matt Taylor, he didn't learn.
No, he didn't.
He didn't learn, and I think that could be the difference between Matt Taylor and Matt Sadler.
Can I ask a question? Do you think, therefore, we need to go out and sign another free agent centre half?
No. Well,
no, I don't think we do. I think if you're going to forward at the back, we don't.
If he was going to persist, because we know that he's had 2 trialist centre halves on trial this week, and he's got another one in next week. One of those is potentially Jack Simpson, who's done some time with Cardiff and Bournemouth, I think it was. And I think he would improve us as a team. But with 4 at the back, we've got cover. I don't think we need it. It's whether Sadler goes to the people that are selecting the players, because we know it's not Sadler, and saying, I'm going to stick with this 4 at the back. It works. No, I don't need anybody else.
I don't think we do at all with the 4. I think if it was 3 at the back, most certainly. I think if he does sign one, I think that's the sort of the we might get an inkling that he'll move to that move back to. And to be honest, if it works, it works. But I personally don't think we have the players, as we discussed earlier, to fit that formation. But if he does sign another free agent centre half, I would think that was a sign that we might be moving back towards the the three at the back personally.
Yeah.
Well, you might not. So I hope he doesn't personally.
And as we've said, we haven't really got the wing backs to play 3-5-2. Liam Gordon is much better as a fullback. Tyler Allen is much better as a fullback. Joe Folks is much better as a fullback. And Joe Riley, absolutely much better as a fullback. So the four at the back has got to stay for me. Jacobs put a comment in there. OT so underrated. Hopefully he can stay in the team. His cameos have been fantastic, haven't they? It's been fantastic. Where do you think we're going to finish this season? That's one we're going to come to. But we're sort of getting close to time, so we've got to watch things. First 10 games, we've got 14 points. I had a message from Lee earlier on. Next 10 games, we need 20 points. So, home to MK Dons, away to Sutton, home to Gillingham. How many points are we going to get there, Phil?
Who knows? Blimey. Trying to predict Walsall scores is like, I mean, like going back to what we said earlier, I came away from Salford thinking, oh, great, second half was really good, 4-4-1-1, really good performance. And then, we lost the next two. And obviously got a very good, much better performance and a good result yesterday. Who knows with us? I still think there's going to be bumps in the road with Sadler. There's going to be performances like yesterday. There's also going to be performances like Wimbledon. My hope is that he does settle on this new formation. But as Darren said earlier on, I'm not convinced he will. I think he will go back to 3-5-2 on occasions. But you've got to be looking at Tuesday night. MK Dons are on a poor run. We've got to be looking to get a result on Tuesday night. They're not in great form. They lost at home to Newport on Saturday. And then Sutton, obviously bottom of the league. Again, I think we've got to be looking to win that game. Gillingham, they're obviously a better side. They've started the season pretty solidly. I think if we can get 7 points out of the next three games, that'd be fantastic, and that'd have us in a really strong position. Looking to build on that.
I got 7 points. Sutton away is the one that's tough, isn't it? They're a big, very tall side, and physical side, but they are on a bad run of form. If we could win on Tuesday night, the confidence going into Sutton would be high.
Yeah.
So I think 7 points.
If we could get 7 points, that'd be brilliant. But to be honest, I wouldn't be that shocked if we only got 2 points from the next three games.
So we're moving on to Daz. We follow that with Newport away, Crawley. Can you believe it? They're second, and then Mansfield away. That's a tough set of fixtures, isn't it?
Yeah, it's particularly when you don't know which flavour of Walsall you're going to get. It's kind of some's good, some bad. Just going back to Sutton. Sutton beat Notts County on the opening day. They've gone 9 games without a win in the league, and it will be so Walsall to go and get rolled over and end that run. So Walsall to get Sutton's season off and running. Mansfield, that'll be an enjoyable, cultured
That's
afternoon.
A good away day. I like that one.
It could be anything. I think the first 4 games, anything between nothing and 12. The following 3, anything between nothing and 9. You just don't know which Walsall team's going to turn up at the moment.
One thing I've missed, I'm going to come back to in a second. The following 4 games, Lee: Harrogate at home, Doncaster away, Forest Green at home, and then Barrow away.
Again, like Darren, Daz, and Phil already said, it all depends on what Walsall turn up. But if you look over the last 5 years, the first 10 games this season, we've got the most points, 14 out of 10. You go
I
past
saw that earlier.
Yeah.
That's best,
So
best
again,
start for 5 years.
yeah. So again, break it down into the 10 games. I think sort of the next 10 games, if we can pick up close to 20 points, we'll be in and around sort of the top 10 positions. And again, I know you sort of had Gab Sutton on earlier in the week or last week, and he said he thinks League Two's a lot stronger this season. So far, out of the 10 games I've been to, I don't think it is. I think there's a couple of teams that could come out of the pack and sort of go on a run and win 5 or 6 games. But I also think there's a lot of teams that can beat each other. And I think if you look at the table at the moment after 10 games, I know Notts County are top on 20, and then we're, 13th on 14. So really, you can say we're only 6 points off the top. Where I think this time last season, you already saw Leyton Orient, Carlisle and Northampton were going to be sort of the 3 teams that stood out. But I think this season, it could be a lot more tighter. And I think, as you've already seen, teams are getting beaten by other teams that you didn't expect. And I don't think anybody's, apart from sort of, it irks me to say, but I'll probably say at the moment, probably Mansfield and Swindon have been the most consistent.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're unbeatable. Where I think last season, Leyton Orient sort of were unbeatable at times. But I don't think that's going to happen this season. So I think the next 10 games, we've got to try and get as many points as we can and get to that 20 game mark and just be in with a shout, because you never know what happens. I mean, again, if we sort of finish mid-table, we finish mid-table. But I think the next 10 games, if we can get ourselves into a position where we're not cut adrift from the top sort of 8 or 9 teams, then the final 20 games of the season could be an interesting season.
Yeah. Just want to thank Percy for the super thanks. So thanks for that. Moving on to Darren, a different question again. The consistency is clearly the issue for any League Two side. How does Sadler deal with that to reduce the inconsistency?
How do we get? Well, I think it's personally, I think this shift to the 4. I know we probably all mentioned it about 50 times this evening, but hopefully shifting to the new formation and having a bed, that's going to have a bedding in period as well, you know, because they've probably spent all pre-season, you know, training for and working out, you know, triggers and stuff for the 3-5-2. So there will be another bedding in period as well for this 4 at the back. As we said, I think it fits the formation better. I think we need to have a formation personally, and I'm going to jump in on your earlier question to the others about who's been like sort of player of the season and stuff. I think we should be building this side around that number 10 position and Isaac Hutchinson personally, because I think when he's on form, and that's a consistency problem, right? I think we'd all probably agree with that he'll have some games where he's unplayable and other games where he's less so. But if we can get him firing in that role, in that position, I think that'll go a long way to us like moving up the table. I think
Sadler's going to be brave. I think on the days that are not happening for Hutch, he's going to take him off and change him.
Well, I think Kearney can play that role as well. I think we've seen that he can fill in and sort of mess about there. But I just think if we can get the best out of him, I think when he plays well, we play well, really. And I think,
as I say, it's on the days that it's not his day.
Yeah,
Matt Sadler's got to be brave and got to be supported to.
I think he'll be
with
more
his decisions, which some he'll get right, some he won't.
I think he'll be more consistent in this formation, just to finish, because I think when he was playing up there with Mckenzie as 2-8s, where am I? Yeah. I think he's looking around and he's got Mckenzie not knowing how to play that role, and it was all a bit disjointed. But if he can become the fulcrum and everything goes through him, I think we'll see a more consistent Hutchinson.
I'm liking this comment from Cyprus Sadler. Some people very quick to forget the dreary football we had to enjoy last year. Let's get behind Sadler. I think we can all wholeheartedly agree that the football is so much better this season than
I think
several
think
years?
it has been at times, Simon. I don't think we can say again. It comes down to the consistency. I didn't come away from the Wimbledon game thinking, "Oh, that was good. That was good football," because it was bloody awful. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
So it has been at times, and there was a few people commenting about Sadler talking about playing front foot football, attacking football. But if you actually look at our possession stats, they're actually quite low, and it's difficult to play front foot football when you're only averaging about 40% possession. I'm not too concerned about that statistic if we're doing what we did yesterday and basically allowing Bradford to have ball in areas of the pitch where they're not hurting us. Because the number of times yesterday we pressed and we forced them to play backwards and square all the time. I can live with that, and if we're hitting teams on the counter, and if we when we do get the ball, we attack with purpose, then I'm not too concerned about the possession stats.
It's what you do when you've got possession.
Exactly,
isn't it?
it's what you do when you've got the ball that matters. The encouraging things are, to end with some positives. The away form's picking up. We've won 2 out of the last 3 away, having had a dreadful run of away form lately up to there. The home form has. Couple of decent performances, couple of not so good performances. But as I said in the last fan chat, I'm happy just to let things, progress as they are. I'm not getting too carried away when we win, but equally I'm not getting too critical when we lose. Yeah. I think some of the comments that I saw on social media and some of the fan sites after the Wimbledon game, I thought were completely over the top in their criticism of Sadler and the team. I get it. I get that there are people out there who disagreed with his appointment, and I do feel that there are, with some of the things that I see and some of the things that I read, I do feel there's an element of supporters who almost want him to fail, which I can't get my head around. I'm just, happy to let him do what he's doing, let him learn, let him develop, and let's see where it takes us, because I've seen enough positives to still be, like Daz said earlier, glass half full rather than half empty.
Yeah, I think Sadler is one of our own, so we want him to do well. I know he's inexperienced, but Gary Waddock alongside him, that's some solid experience there with him, and as long as he's using that knowledge and learning from it, then all's good. Final thing I want to discuss, Danny Johnson. We're winning games without him. He's probably one of our most highest paid players. Can he play in the Draper role if Draper got taken back in January, or are we in trouble again? So, DJ, your thoughts. Go to Daz. Sorry, first.
I can see. I think it's pretty evident of why Draper is being selected in front of him at the moment. Tactically, for yesterday, let's just use yesterday. Tactically, Sadler got it spot on. I sent 2 chats yesterday. The first one I referenced already. The second one, if you're old enough to remember, and I'm being very complimentary, Draper looked like Trevor Christie yesterday. For those who are old enough to remember, but
sadly,
tactically, away at Bradford, Draper could do a job back to goal that Johnson can't do. If you're gonna get Johnson playing on his own up front, you've got to play in a different way, and I think it's difficult to fit him into that team at the moment. If Draper goes back in January, we'll have to change. I think you'll have to play 2 up front at times at home. It's a situation I never expected to see in July and August when we re-recruited him, and I think it's a situation Johnson needs to understand as well. He's got to win his place back. There's nobody guaranteed a place in this team, and when the opportunity comes, he's got to win it back.
Yeah, I think. The problem is, if Draper goes back in January, will DJ be so fed up, but at that point, that he's giving up the ghost, as it were? That's a possibility, isn't it?
Yeah, the club would be. We all assuming there's a clawback in January. I haven't seen anything that says one way or the other. Given what the club experienced last year, they would be really naive to not have him tied down for a year, and that'd be a real failing. I think if there was a pullback in January, you would have to ask some serious questions of how we've recruited, given the impact that it had last season.
Yeah. Phil?
Pretty much agree with everything that Daz has just said. With the way the team is set up at the moment, I would play Draper ahead of DJ, but there will be times when we play two up front, and if we do play two up front, I would play him with Freddie Draper. But we saw again yesterday when Freddie Draper went off, he brought Jamil Matt on again. He obviously feels that more of a physical presence is needed up front, and a target man. And you know, if there were games when Draper wasn't playing, if he was injured or whatever, then I get the feeling he would probably favour Jamil Matt over Danny Johnson, which I'm not entirely convinced is the right thing at this stage. But Danny, like Daz said, he's got to earn his place in the team. He's no different to anybody else in the squad in that respect. He started the season well, scored 2 in the first 3, but with the slight change of shape, and with the former Freddie Draper, he's gonna have to earn his place back.
One slightly different question for Lee: if Draper went back, which we certainly hope he doesn't, would Jamil Matt and DJ work up as a front two? Would that work well, you think?
Yes and no. Again, if you're going to have Jamil Matt and DJ as your front two, it's the service then. Because how DJ plays and how Matt plays is different. They are different players, but then it's the service. It's still the same with Draper now. You've got to he can make more happen on his own, Draper, in that sort of sole role he plays, because he can play with his to goal and he can make things happen. But I think if he went back and we was left with DJ, and you would have to change it tactically to get the ball into the box. Obviously, DJ prefers sort of the crosses coming in, and he's sort of that 6 yard in between the penalty spot and the 6 yard sort of poacher. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the coming weeks, months, when we get towards January, whether Lincoln do. I suppose if they're having real crisis of injuries, they probably will want him to come back. But yeah, they have got that 22-year-old who's joining them in January. I suppose if he's fit and ready to go, he'll probably be more chance of us keeping him. But I think what we've shown this season so far as well with Draper and Teeny on loan, I would be more hopeful of keeping Draper. But if he did go, I think other clubs will look at us and think, I'm willing to let our players go to Walsall now, if that makes sense. I think sort of the last few years, I think we've struggled to get quality players in on loan, because I think teams have looked at us and gone, I don't think Walsall development player. I think Lincoln at the moment must be happy with Draper playing, scoring. He's developing. He's enjoying himself. You see yesterday as well, he battled all game until he came off against Bradford, but you could see he enjoyed that. He was loving it.
It's great energy. He's loving it, isn't he? He's loving it.
Yeah, a few positives. I mean, hopefully we keep him till the end of the season.
Yeah, Dave Tonkinson got the same answer as yourself, really. For some reason, we don't give the strikers service when we play 2 up top. We do sort of tend to go long ball, don't we? We've just got a comment here, which I quite like this, to remind me of things. Hit the like button, everyone, please. So I forget all of that. Thanks for those that have contributed the super thanks. Appreciate that. And those that sort of looking at membership, that'll be good. And what we got here, Percy, I think Draper is this season's Liam Bennett. Is going in January, and that's the fear, isn't it? And the good news, we've got Cyprus Sadler is in England at the moment, and he's going to be there Tuesday. So I think he'll need to get wrapped up if he's expecting it to be warm. Final words. We go to Darren first. This is the big one. where do you think we're going to finish this season?
Exactly where we are now.
Exactly where we are now. So we're
sort of, I'd say between 11th and 13th, personally.
11th and 13th.
I think
Okay.
because of that consistency.
Consistency. That's it. Phil?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my original prediction and the same one I gave last time. I think we'll be in and around 10th, 11th, somewhere
10th,
like that.
11th. Okay. Darren, any more positivity from you?
I said 9th at the start of the season, and I'm sticking with 9th.
9th. Lee? You still with us, Lee?
Like I normally say, Simon. Yeah, I'm going to say, like I normally say, let's go and win the league. Somebody's got to win it.
This is very true.
You're laughing, but somebody's got to win it. Why can't we win it?
For me, I think we're going to be top 12. And with a trailing wind, we might just sneak ourselves into the top 7, and that's where I'm hoping for. We'll wind up there. As always, thank you very much for joining us. The joy and the pain. We've experienced plenty of the pain, and we're forever hopeful that we'll have a bit more joy coming. If we can get a win on Tuesday night to take us down to Sutton, we could be on a bit of a run, and hopefully this the run of 13 draws or whatever, if we can avoid that this season, that could be the difference that gets us up into the playoffs. We don't mind losing occasionally as long as we're winning the others. That's right then. We've got Rob saying 13th, and I think if we've got a clear step up from last season and we're around 12th, that is an improvement and it is moving the right direction. But we all want fun in the playoffs, don't we? Hey, we all want fun in the playoffs. Right then,
just win it. Don't need the playoffs. Just win it.
Yeah.
You want to be have May off. Why bother with May? Have May off. Just win it.
I'm loving your positivity, mate. I'm loving your positivity, and I'm with you. I'm with you on it. But as you say, the challenge for Sadler is maintaining the consistency, and so that's the key one. But as I say, thanks everybody for joining us. We've got this. It's also on the Joy and the Pain podcast, part of the TalkSport network. And I did mean to say this earlier. Thank you very much to our sponsors, S&S Steel Stock, Leemore Windows, Smashburger, and Cleaning with Class, of course. So anybody who wants to help contribute to the channel and get a mention and that sort of stuff, just to get yourselves in touch. Thanks for watching. The Joy and the Pain. Cheers.